Greetings! Ghost Files Season 3 is just around the corner, so you know what that means. We're once again hitting the road for the Ghost Files Live Tour.
That's right, we're packing our bags and visiting 18 cities all throughout the US and Canada.
Canada? Head on over to ghostfileslive.com to check out dates and to get your tickets. You come watch a new episode of Ghost Files that nobody has seen. We'll come on out after, answer your guys' questions, goof around, maybe have too many spirits.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll see you there.
I'm gonna kill him in the last show.
What?
This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. College trips abroad can be both educating and liberating, exposing young adults to the myriad cultures of our one shared world. With home an ocean away, however, sometimes this new freedom means braving discomfort, or even danger. Tonight, our narrator describes her time abroad and why she'd never been so glad to return home. I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it till the end of the night. The Crawlspace.
He's after us! It's the guy with the hook!
Tonight, we tell the harrowing tale of something you can't outrun. No, it's not this guy with a hook, but it's hunger. And you can truly beat that hunger with today's episode sponsor, Factor. For us guys on the go, Factor cuts down on grocery trips and cooking, so there's more time for our favorite outdoor activities. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. So why don't you join me? Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code WATCHER50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code WATCHER50 at factor75.com. to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month of orders. Fuel up your nighttime goals with Factor. Now, back to the show.
I guess you could say I'm writing this as a cautionary tale to those who plan on studying abroad in Rome. I don't mean to discourage you from going in the first place. It's more like I just want you to be aware of this so that something like this doesn't happen to you too. Last summer, I was selected to participate in a study abroad program in Rome. I was elated. I'd never been out of the country before, so this was going to be a real adventure for me. In the months that preceded the trip, we were responsible for messaging our would-be roommates and finding a place to stay. I would be staying with 3 girls, Alicia, Stephanie, and Lindsay. They were all nice enough, and none of us really had much money. So, we decided to go with the cheapest apartment we could find. You ever study abroad?
No.
No?
Did you?
I did. Well, I
What?
guess I didn't really study abroad. I made a documentary in Singapore, which was like a version of studying abroad. It was called Cross-Cultural Documentary. You had to apply to get in, and then they selected a team of documentarians to get over, and then the school paid for it.
Did you go there?
I did.
Cool.
I was there for like a month and a half.
In college?
In college, yes.
Cool. Is that when you pooped your pants?
I did poop my pants in this trip. I did, yeah. After a couple of days, we stumbled across an ad for an ancient apartment located above the Campo dei Fiori. This was a prime location, and we couldn't believe that it was still available. No less listed for a price that fit into our budget. This immediately sent alarm bells off in my head. Something seemed too good to be true. The rent was cheaper than smaller apartments in less desirable parts of town. Soon, however, my excitement about Italy dulled any hesitation I might have had, and we booked it. When I arrived in Italy and met my new roommates at the airport, I was sure I was about to have the 3 best months of my life. We got a taxi and zoomed to the Campo dei Fiori. The location was amazing. During the daytime, the Campo hosted a vibrant market, while in the evenings, it was lined with lively street performers. All of the apartments surrounding it, including ours, looked to be legit ancient.
This sounds so fun and sexy.
Except for the street performers, sometimes they could be a bit much.
Well, sometimes they can be really sexy, you know?
No, I don't know. What do you mean by that?
I think in Europe they have some really sexy street performers. I think I've just built it up in my mind for so long because I never did go abroad during my youth, which was so long ago now.
This apartment, the too good to be true nature of it. This often happens when you see like a house where people have been brutally murdered inside of it.
Yeah.
And then there's a sale. You've been on the record for saying that would not matter.
Who cares? Yeah. People die everywhere. I bet someone has died here in the void.
What if you found out a bunch of people were skinned alive there and were used as like suits, like meat suits?
Okay, I mean, you're getting into territory where, yes, I might be hesitant.
Yeah, you find out somebody got tortured there.
Well, it's just because you're like thinking about it.
Had their pee-pee ripped off and turned into a flute.
Right. Yes, if that happens, certainly I'm going to be falling asleep at night. I'll be like, is that flute music I hear? You know?
The scariest time to ever hear a flute.
Yeah.
As soon as we opened the front door, there was a stampede of young women trying to claim the best rooms. Being a 3-bedroom apartment, it meant that 2 of us would have to share. I personally didn't really care, so I let the others battle it out. I ended up sharing a room with Stephanie. That was fine. Stephanie was the nicest girl and very quiet. Ideal qualities in a roommate. Apart from the bedrooms, we would be sharing 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, and a living room, with a TV so old, Alicia thought it was just for decoration. While the other 3 laughed about how great the apartment was, I again started to feel uneasy. How were we able to afford all of this? Before I could finish my thought, I was interrupted by a fit of loud squealing. At the far end of the apartment, near the front door, there was another part of the flat we had missed entirely when we first entered. A dark hallway. I couldn't see what was at the end, as Lindsay and Stephanie were blocking my view, shrieking. Just love all the passive-aggressive, like, calm down, it's not that nice. Think critically, kind of thing.
What, are they shrieking at the hallway or at the...
They're shrieking at like, oh my God, we got 2 bathrooms! Look at this TV, it's so fucking old!
See. It's exciting, you know. Yeah. I'd shriek.
You don't shriek. You're not a shrieker.
I'm a squealer.
I've never seen you have an excitement decibel level above maybe 4.
No, I get excited all the time. I'm a squealer. I'm a shrieker.
He's a screamer.
Yep, that's me.
Finally, they turned and I saw what had set them off. A washer and dryer. Somehow, we had found a cheap apartment with in-unit laundry. Now that is pretty good.
I'd be squealing in LA
I would be squealing
about that, I tell you what.
You find that in LA, you keep that shit a secret because the landlord did that by accident.
That's got to be true in other cities as well at this point. It's
in-unit laundry?
Yeah.
Then things got even better. Adjacent to the washing machine behind a nondescript door was a 3rd bathroom. Unlike the others, which were small and harshly lit, this one was massive, with a clawfoot tub, a bidet, and even a private balcony. We immediately started fighting over whose bathroom this would be. Stephanie made the logical argument that because she and I had to share a bedroom, it was only fair that we got to share this primary bath. At first, I loved our sprawling bathroom. Over the course of that first week, however, I grew more and more wary of the room. It's like every time I went into that room, I felt I didn't have any privacy, like someone could see me. I stood on the balcony and looked across the Campo, seeing if anyone had a view straight into the room. But it seemed private enough. Still, I feel like I was never quite alone, and that whatever was watching me was angry. That it didn't want me there. That it wanted to hurt me. I asked Alicia if she wanted to swap bathrooms, and she quickly agreed. For the next 2 months, I didn't enter the big bathroom again, and I had an incredible time. It wasn't until our final month that everything began to unravel. One night, as I prepared to brush my teeth, I could hear Stephanie and Alicia getting ready for bed in the primary bath. I'd been having a great time in Italy, but I hadn't really gotten as close to my roommates as it seemed they had gotten to each other. I decided to put myself out there and try to do some bonding. Besides, with 3 of us in there, what bad thing could happen in the bathroom?
Just hanging out in the bathroom a lot?
I guess. I don't know. I didn't really spend much time in the bathroom with my roommates, but if you're sharing a bathroom.
There's 3 of them. One could take a bath, one could use the toilet, and the other one could use the bidet.
Well, that's only if there's an enclosure. I like a bathroom where the toilet is enclosed, and then inside that bathroom there's still a shower. That way you can like do your business in there while say my wife showers or something.
I don't like that, because I don't like when you're in a little tiny toilet room.
I don't mind that.
I don't like being alone in my little tiny toilet room.
It lets me know that I'm in there to do business.
Ideally, I would love a bathroom so big with just a toilet in the middle of it.
It's horrible design.
Well, it's for me.
I made my way to the large bathroom where I joined the boisterous girls in brushing my teeth. They filled me in on what they were talking about. Some Italian boy had tried to hit on Stephanie earlier, and Alicia broke into such a furious fit of laughter that she had to lean on the wall for support.
The wall's gonna cave in.
No, I did not
full of bones.
No, I don't think so.
You gotta imagine all the walls in Rome are full of bones, right?
I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I think this is just part of the story.
I think we're gonna find some bones.
Suddenly, she jolted upright, as if she'd been shocked. Oh my God, I think we might be finding some bones.
This is a quick turnaround from you.
You might have been right. I just thought it was
so vehement.
I thought
no
it was
bones
just
here.
I just thought it was a quick detail.
I think there might be
I
bones.
just think that was weird. Like, I've leaned on the wall before because I'm laughing, but I'm not leaning with such a force.
What if the fucking wall's made of polished bone? What if she's like, wait a minute, wall is bones. Feel this wall, this is bones.
Apparently snakes in the wall are very common in the UK.
Yeah, you've said this before.
I read that.
I don't know where you're getting your news from. Too much TikTok news.
Suddenly, she jolted upright as if she had been shocked. We all looked at what had been the cause of her reaction. There on the wall, about the same level as the bathtub, was a tiny door. The landlord had painted over it. Alicia reached for the handle and began tugging with all her might. Wait, these dummies didn't realize there was a handle on the fucking wall this entire time? I know there's paint on it,
They've been in there for 2 months.
I'm not saying these 3 folks
doing?
are dummies, but I'm gonna say that if you and I were sharing a bathroom for a day, we would notice, hey, you notice the tiny door that was on the fucking wall?
wouldn't see any of Rome. Because we'd get there, I'd be like, Ryan!
And I'd
look
be
at
like,
this
what?
tiny door!
No fucking way, a tiny door in the bathroom?
I'd be like, we gotta get into this tiny door. Outside, there'd be Tarantella music playing, all that. We'd be like, who cares?
Shane would pry it open, I'd crawl through for obvious reasons.
Well, I didn't want to go there, but that's true.
Stephanie clucked her tongue in disapproval before pulling a small pocket knife from her toiletry bag. She began carving along the seam of the door. Within a few minutes, Alicia had yanked the little door open with a loud crack. Inside was a large crawl space. You could have fit at least 3 or 4 people in there. I was curious why the landlord sealed up such a spacious storage nook. Immediately, we started using it as storage for towels and laundry baskets. Would you be alarmed by this? I would be alarmed by this.
I don't know that I would, because I would just assume that it was an old crawl space and probably not be super concerned about it.
But you have to remember the background. This is a suspicious deal to begin with. In
True.
like the heart of the city, there's no reason it should be this cheap, and now there's a creepy little crawl space, and your first thought is towel time? I'm not saying they deserve to die, but this feels like we're getting to there.
It seems to be the theme of this season, us choosing who deserves to die.
Well, you just don't be stupid.
Always be looking for tiny doors.
And if you do find them, let somebody know. Don't keep it a secret. Even though our apartment was old, everything had been working fine until we unsealed that crawl space. Suddenly, the hot water in the other 2 bathrooms stopped working. I kept using the bathroom with cold water, unwilling to go back to the huge bathroom until the cold water stopped working too. Meanwhile, everything in the big bathroom still worked. With the exception of that bathroom, it felt like the apartment was almost sabotaging itself. I was back in the large bathroom. All the while, the feeling that I was being watched grew worse and worse. I seemed to be the only one feeling this way, so I kept it to myself and hoped it would eventually go away. One night, I was alone in the bathroom. As I stood in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, something set the hairs on the back of my neck straight up. There was a faint rustling noise, the sound of someone gingerly shuffling things around inside the crawl space. I stood completely silent, terror filling me. I turned and ran down the hallway to grab the attention of my roommates. Eventually, I managed to stutter. Something's inside the crawl space.
This feels like an easy solve to me. If you're a person traveling alone in Rome, you're with your friends, but you're probably carrying pepper spray.
Yeah.
Just get over that door, open it up.
Give it a good little douse.
Yeah, just really get it all up in there because that's going to really stink.
Why don't you call a plumber?
That's good too, but he's probably Italian. Do you know Italian? What would you say?
I'd walk over to the fucking sink and be like, hey, look, buddy, no water. I know you could do this. I played Super Mario.
Oh, you're right.
The most famous plumber there is.
Yeah.
I'd show him a picture of Mario. And then I'd show him a picture of my sink.
You.
No water. Drippy, drippy, no.
Yeah.
My roommates looked at me confused. It's probably a pigeon. As a pack, we moved down the hallway to the bathroom. When we looked in, I nearly fainted. The tiny door to the crawl space was now open. Alicia peeked her head out the balcony door and pointed to the slanted rooftop adjacent to ours. Sure enough, there were a few pigeons' nests tucked into the roof tiles. Stephanie surmised that a pigeon must have found another way into the crawl space and had just hopped out. Still, something bugged me. I knew that when I heard the rustling, the door was closed. No one is going to tell me that a pigeon knows how to and is capable of opening a door. When I got back to my room, I texted what had happened to my best friend back home. Initially, she thought I was being paranoid, though she also agreed with me that a pigeon probably wasn't responsible. She asked to see the crawl space, so I grabbed my phone and made my way back down the hallway. When I arrived, to my relief, the little door to the crawl space was still closed. I stood in front of it for a moment, gathering my nerve before finally pulling the little door open. It was empty. I snapped a quick photo before closing the door once more and running back to my room. I sent it to my friend, who said it certainly looked creepy, but it was probably nothing. I went to bed, but had some strange nightmares, the kind when you feel like you're half awake the whole time and you wake up feeling terrible. When the sun finally rose, I rolled over and grabbed my phone. I had 20 unread texts and 2 missed calls from my friend. I opened the phone, and the first text was, "Looked at that photo again. What did you Photoshop into the corner?" I opened the picture and zoomed in and was immediately petrified. In the upper right-hand corner, looking out at me, was a face, baring its teeth. My whole body began violently shaking. Someone had sealed whatever it was inside of that crawl space, and we had let it out. Knowing these people, they probably just closed that door to the bathroom and they just went to the other bathroom. And it's like, all right, we'll forget about that bathroom for now. We're not gonna let anybody know about this.
I mean, you can also reseal it or just put a big pot in front of it or some vase.
Or this is the pepper spray.
The pepper spray!
Yeah, or just spray a hose in there.
Or put some poison in there.
Yeah.
Put a cake in there, but put some poison on it.
I tiptoed to the bathroom and peered around the corner. The door to the crawl space was closed. Slowly, I approached it, listening for whatever was inside. I heard nothing. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and saw nothing inside. I looked back at the photo. It's possible it was just a trick of the flash on my phone. Nothing was inside now. I texted my friend that it was just an optical illusion and got ready for my day. That night, I had more nightmares. That is, until around 2 o'clock in the morning when the sound woke me. It sounded like a door being pushed open at the other end of the flat, followed by footsteps. But not normal footsteps. They were far too fast, like someone was running at full speed from the foyer to the living room and all about the apartment. And these weren't heavy footfalls like you would expect from a person running. They were very, very light. A shiver went down my spine, and I nearly screamed when I realized that the footsteps had come to a stop outside of my door. Despite all the lights being out, I could clearly see a looming shadow through the tiny crack at the foot of my door. Little tiny guy running around the apartment.
You think it's human?
No, it could be like a little rat man.
Rat Man would be good.
I
like a little rat man.
The lesser known cousin of Batman. You would like to be a rat man if you could.
I don't think I'd like to be like the product of a human mating with a rat. because I think that would be bad biologically for me. That would not be great. But maybe if I was like you put me in a pot, like in The Fly, if my DNA were suddenly fused with a rat.
Yeah, like Goldblum style.
And I turned into like a Brundle rat or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be into that. I'd be into becoming that.
I dared not move. Whatever it was just standing there, waiting. Then to my horror, my doorknob slowly began to jiggle. Gently at first, but then growing violent at the realization of it being locked. The noise of it eventually woke Stephanie. She sat up, blinking in confusion. That instant, the jiggling of the doorknob stopped. I whispered across to her that whatever had opened the door to the crawl space the previous day had come back, but she just rolled over and said that I needed to get more sleep. That's you. This is you to me. This is why we would die, because of you.
Well, don't say that.
You'd be like, it's an optical illusion, whatever, go to sleep, it's fine. And then we go to sleep forever.
This has happened in my life. We'll hear weird noises or something, or Obi will do something crazy at night, and Sarah will be like, what was that? And I'll be like, I don't know. Go to bed.
You know what I do when I hear weird noise in my house?
You grab your samurai sword.
My katana.
Your katana.
It's katana time.
Yeah.
The next day, I made an appointment with my program supervisor and told him I needed to go home, preferably that night. He tried to tell me that I was just homesick and that it would pass, but I insisted. Eventually, we called my parents. They were confused, but understanding. They changed the date of my return flight to the following morning. Unfortunately, this meant staying one more night in the apartment. When I returned, I tried to tell the others about what I thought was going on, but none of them took me seriously. They didn't say anything, but I was sure they all thought I was going home because of some sort of mental breakdown. That night, I locked my door and hesitantly went to bed. I couldn't fall asleep. Once again, around 2 o'clock, rapid footsteps scampered around the apartment. And once again, they came to a pause outside my door. I could hear breathing this time, slow and light. I sat up in a panic, and to my horror, I saw that Stephanie had forgotten to lock the door behind her after getting up to use the bathroom. Stephanie! One rule, lock the door.
These other women deserve to die.
I think all three of them do, but more so Stephanie and the gang, not the narrator as much. I hope she survives.
If we're being honest, that's true of most of the protagonists of all of these stories we read here on this show. They're all pretty dumb.
I could think of a couple that didn't deserve to die. They tried to do the right thing.
Who? Name one.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are some. The handle slowly began to turn. I froze in terror as the door swung open. It stood in the doorway, staring me down. Its eyes protruded slightly from its skull and gave off a very faint bluish light. It didn't appear to have a nose, only slits where the nostril should have been. It had teeth, but no lips, giving it a permanent snarl. Its grayish-white skin was stretched tight over its bony face. The rest of its skeletal form was hard to make out as it was entirely enveloped in shadows. Yeah, this is a freaky-looking thing.
Sounds more like Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, kind of.
Really scary guy.
To me, it sounds more like Voldemort fucked like Schmeagol.
That's, I think, what happens, and then you get a Baraka. Voldemort, Schmeagol, do the deed.
Barack Obama should dress up as Baraka for Halloween. Then he could be Baraka Obama.
Baraka Obama.
That would be sick. Free idea, Mr. President, if you're watching this show.
Surely photoshopped Baraka Obama. I gotta see that.
They have to have done it.
We should do that.
I have to say, too, normally we're like, show the monster.
I actually want to see if someone's photoshopped
let's take
Obama.
A look. It's worth a look. It's worth a look. Baraka Obama, that's hilarious.
Baraka Obama.
I'm disappointed in the internet if this has not been done.
Oh,
yeah?
This actually isn't half bad.
Gotta see it. You piece of shit! Unbelievable! I can't believe I fell for it again.
It's been a while.
Not long enough. Wow. Well done, you piece of shit. Unbelievable.
I've been waiting.
After pausing in the doorway, it began to head toward me. As it moved, its body let out sickening cracks. I sat there, still petrified by fear, until it had made its way to the foot of my bed. The air had begun to smell sour and stagnant. It sprang onto the foot of the bed. I wanted to scream, but instead I gagged at the smell, like sulfur and rotting flesh.
Like how big this guy is.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's like, yay high?
You think he's real little?
Probably this big.
Because that's not as scary, but...
Yeah, because then I would just kick him off my bed.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, ah!
Or like sit on him. I'd sit on him.
Or just pick him up and he'd be like, with his little tiny knives, like trying to get at me, and I'd just be holding him like this, and I'd throw him out the window.
Spin him around.
Slowly, it unfurled one of its gnarled hands and proceeded to reach for me. It was only inches away when I finally screamed. It halted in its tracks, and Stephanie shot up in her bed. The creature hunched over on all fours and fled from the room with spider-like movement. Stephanie switched the light on and looked at me, furious. She hadn't seen it. She thought I'd just had a nightmare. I apologized, and Stephanie turned the lights back off. I bolted the door and didn't even try to go back asleep.
Why are you going back to sleep?
Well, maybe she was convinced she had
Why
sleep.
don't I just close the door?
Well, I mean, sleep paralysis, you could see some crazy little creatures.
That's what I've been told, and it seems like people do buy into that quite a bit.
Well, I'm thinking you're Stephanie in this scenario, and I'm this narrator. Like, I just saw a Spider-Man crawl out of this room. Imagine me saying that to you in one of these haunted locations.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe you, yeah.
No, you wouldn't believe me. And we'd die because of it. The taxi came to pick me up very early. As the driver closed the trunk on my luggage, I leaned to look out the window. I could see where my room had been. There, looking out of my old window, was the thing. Bye-bye! Oh, shucks! I guess I'll just have to kill all your friends instead. Ciao! I wish I could have had the pleasure.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
What's he doing up there?
He's just saying goodbye, looking at the one that got away.
But I guess now he's gonna eat the other
Yeah, he's
gals?
gonna eat the other ones, but he's gonna be laying in his bed, looking at a photo of her like that Wolverine meme, just wondering what she would have tasted like.
Yeah.
Its unblinking eyes bore into me, and its lipless mouth curled into a snarling grin. Before I could say anything, the cab driver took off, leaving that hell house far behind. I did everything in my power to try to warn them of the danger that they were in, but none of them listened to me. There was no way I could have stopped what happened after. You see, a couple weeks after returning to the United States, I received a phone call from the program director. He informed me that all 3 of my past roommates had been reported missing.
They got eaten.
Yeah.
They were just informing you that all your old friends were eaten.
Yeah.
We found their bones.
The authorities had no idea just how long they had actually been gone for, as they were only recently discovered to be missing when the program director went to check on them after they failed to come to the program wrap-up. There was no sign of forced entry, and no valuables were missing. Just my roommates. Kind of a sick burn there. No valuables missing, just my roommates.
Yeah, nothing of value was lost.
That's right, just 3 dummies. I may not be able to go back in time and save them, but maybe I can prevent this from happening to you. Please, please heed my warning. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. You might not be as lucky as me. So, are you scared? Good story.
It's a good lesson.
It's a good story.
You got to
I
be
liked
careful
it.
when you, even Airbnbs, a lot of times they do have these little guys at them.
It had everything. It had a little tiny monster,
Yeah,
a little tiny door,
little tiny door.
3 idiots.
And we actually never confirmed the size of the monster, but I do hope he's little.
I hope he's like knee height.
Yeah, like a little leprechaun.
Like a leprechaun, yeah. Maybe he was a leprechaun.
Could have been.
It wasn't in Ireland.
On vacation.
On vacation. Well, then he was like, I love Italy so much, maybe I'll just stay here.
Yeah. He's
ever
got
done
little
that?
sunglasses on.
And then every
Certainly
time,
wearing some sunblock.
and every
I'll tell you
time
that.
people come into his apartment, he has to get rid of them. He tries to scare them away, but then when they don't, he has to kill them.
So this was a leprechaun.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, this story was originally posted on creepypasta.com and was modified to fit this show.
And this was actually a true story.
Wow.
Yeah. All her
Don't
friends,
check that, it's a true
all her
story.
friends died.
For those of you who made it, see you next time.
Hey folks, if you want to watch the full season right now, ad-free, along with other bonus content,
Then head on over to WatcherTV.com to subscribe to the Watcher TV app and watch all of our content a month early.
Or just continue to tune in here for free on YouTube every Friday.